I'm going to say something that could 100% cancel me, but that's just kind of where we are at the moment. Drag queen story time, where they get all dressed up and they sit down and read to little kids. Bad fucking idea. As politically incorrect as this is to say, drag queens are very, very confusing to people who are not in the life. Average American does not know the difference between a trans person and a drag queen. And besides that, can we just be like so fucking for real? Drag is cabaret. Can you imagine if we did showgirl story time with the kids? Like really, really. Drag queen story time is one of those out of touch things that conservative Americans do not like. Like, do you understand how we got the gay rights that we got in this country? It was by desexualizing the gay community. It was by will and gracing the fuck out of gay men. It was John and Bob want a white picket fence and 2.5 kids just like you. Truly want to change the narrative around the trans community. Get rid of fucking drag story time. It's not appropriate, and I know that trans people and drag queens are not the same things, but most fucking people don't. Your generation has always gotten the wrong messaging. The fight is not about people understanding. The fight is about equal rights. If you are not old enough to have been a part of a group of people that had no rights, that had to fight and then get those rights, you don't know what you're talking about. You are literally too young to even understand what I mean when I say will and gracing gay men. Because that show came out in 1998, and it was a very, very, very big deal that the main character was an openly gay man. Only recently that a man can be openly gay and have a job around children. That is the reality of the United States of America. So yeah, when you're part of the minority, you do have to play fucking respectability politics. That's real life. That is the real world. The minority cannot make the majority do anything. And the only way for the minority to appeal to the majority is to be as non-threatening as possible, to be very, very invested in maintaining the status quo. The woke agenda has in fact gone too far, and if you were upset about my drag video, please continue to be upset because I've got more to say. As a gay, black, neurodivergent SW immigrant woman, I can tell you, y'all have gone too far. And I'm going to aim this specifically at Gen Z because 99% of the time when I encounter this issue, it's someone 25 and under. Pushing too fast and too hard for the majority of people is how we got to where we got to, which is this extreme conservative backlash. I can't lay this all at Gen Z's feet, but I will say that that specific age group has a very, very toxic way of being about any kind of allyship. It is so all or nothing hardcore that you have sucked the air out of the room and made it not safe to have these conversations that need to be had. And let me tell you, there is an urgency for these conversations to be had now before the spaces that we can have them no longer exist. So I don't know what you need to do to get present to the reality that you live in a white, conservative, Christian majority country, but please do so, because those people are the ones you need to be upset with, not me. Okay? Okay. Yeah, the thing is, we already won. We already won our rights as gay people to get married, to have children, to not be discriminated against for jobs, for housing. Like, we won all those rights already. The fight was not to win the rights. The fight was to keep the rights. The battlefield that you were talking about was the election. That was the test, right? That was the test for reproductive rights. That was the test for gay rights. That was the test for a whole bunch of shit. And we failed. And it wasn't just one group that failed. We failed across many, 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 many different groups, except Black people. So now we have Republican president, Republican Congress, Republican Senate, basically Republican Supreme Court. Where you think you are going to make inroads, I don't know, because it took decades to get here. This was not a 2-year thing. This was 30, 40, 50, 60 years of work to get to this point, and we failed. So I appreciate the energy. Love it. It's beautiful. It's also completely misplaced. Performative allyship is about making the majority conform to the minority in the name of equity and inclusion, but all it ever ends up doing is making it worse for that particular minority. I'm going to give you a really shitty and fucked up example, but pronouns after your name on Zoom calls, especially when they are work-related Zoom calls, that's tough. Now, I'm specifically referring to the first 2 years of the pandemic when everyone was doing everything via Zoom, and you would spend 10 to 15 minutes going around the room introducing yourselves and letting everyone know if your insides match your outsides. Now, in theory, this is a wonderful thing, right? Like, you are giving people the opportunity to be addressed how they feel that they need to be addressed. But in the context of corporate America, which is already fraught with spoken and unspoken gender dynamics, the people who were leading the charge on that particular fight were themselves cis straight people. At its core, this is a conversation about human decency and respect. And people get real fucking resentful when you make them do things for the sake of other people. First real gay kiss that happened on TV happened on Dawson's Creek in 2000. It took until season 2 of Modern Family for Cam and Mitchell to kiss for the first time. That was in 2010. First drag queen story time, 2015 in San Francisco, according to Google. The reality is, drag queen story time became popular because of the Trump administration. It became one of those cool, in vogue things to do to show how progressive and woke you are in the name of allyship, I guess. What, you think you get a few seasons in on RuPaul's Drag Race and all of a sudden everyone is just okay with men dressing up as women? And that's what it is. It's men dressing up as women. Not to be confused with trans people. But can the average American in the conservative, white majority Christian country tell the difference? I want you to go grab 5 random Trump supporters and ask them to tell you the difference between RuPaul's Drag Race and Pose. And that is harsh. And that is awful. And that is the world we live in when the government forms say male, female, other. Prefer not to say occasionally. So it doesn't really matter how you slice it. For a majority of people in this country, it looks a certain way. And sometimes the optics of a thing are more important than the thing itself. Too fast, too soon, for too many people, and honestly, in the name of what exactly? It should make you uncomfortable. Just like the sound of a dog growling before it bites should make you uncomfortable. We are nothing more than articulate apes whose brains are a little bit too big for them. We often forget that and think that we can reason people out of their feelings. We cannot. Someone telling you too much, too fast, too soon is literally them telling you this is not a safe space for you and I'm about to bite if you keep pushing. I'm only 36, but I still came to adolescence in the before times, right? Where you did not talk about being gay, being queer, being trans. Like, that was not something that was to be discussed. I remember a time when you were discriminated against for housing, for jobs, for everything because of your gender expression or because of your sexuality. And the wild thing is, this problem of pushing is not even solely reserved for the queer community. There has been such an insane amount of social change in the last 20 years that nobody stopped to listen to the dog growling. The first Trump administration in 2016 was the warning. Now the dog is biting back. I practice a religion that survived hundreds of years of persecution under slavery by playing respectability politics. We literally had to petition the Supreme Court to be able to practice our religion in a country that prides itself on freedom of religion. I am Black, I am a woman, I am a lesbian, I am an SW, I am neurodivergent, and I'm a fucking immigrant. How do you think I survive? How do you think my people have survived? Is it right? Is it okay? No, but it's about survival. It's about getting to the next day with your people, your history and your identity intact. I'm not here trying to fearmonger people back into the closet for the sake of anyone's feelings. I'm here to say that the day when you might have to quietly put away parts of your identity in order to get a job, get a house, live your life, those days are here for a lot more of you than you realize.